In Chapter 46, we continue our discussion of ecology by taking a look at the impact of humans on our global ecosystem. The human population is very different from wild populations because the human populations have been undergoing extreme growth for several hundred years. The human population had a really low growth rate, really up until the mid 1700s. At that point, agriculture started to take off, animal domestication started to take off, and the Industrial Revolution hit. So between 1750 and 2011, the human population increased from about 80 million to 7 billion. So you can see on this graph here, if we look at that right-hand side, we have just very, very low population growth for a couple thousand years, several thousand years really. And then it starts to increase just a little bit. We see this little dip here for the bubonic plague when we wiped out a lot of humans very short period of time. And then we hit close to mid 1700s, early 1800s, and we get just this skyrocket of the human population. So as of 2024, human population is clocking at just over 1 billion people. We are still experiencing exponential growth, although the world's population is actually slowing. Growth rate is slowing. It's not declining, but it is slowing a bit. So a couple of fun facts. In 2018, for the first time in recorded history, older people 65 and older, outnumbered children under the age of 5. So this is an indication that our growth is slowing. And as I said a second ago, 2024, we hit over 1 billion people. So rapid growth continued into the 20th century. And in the coming years, most of the projected growth is going to be seen in just 9 different countries. Those countries include the Democratic Republic of Congo, Egypt, Ethiopia, India, Indonesia, Nigeria, Pakistan, Tanzania, and the United States. So you might notice that some of these countries are ones that are less industrialized, but we've still got our biggest industrialized nation, the United States, or one of our biggest, the United States, still contributing to rapid population growth. One of the ways that we study human populations is by an age structure pyramid. So the age structure pyramid is going to just show the relative number of individuals in each age group. So we usually have males on one side, females on the other, and then these horizontal bars indicate the number of individuals in the population for each age group. So they're usually broken down by 5 or 10 year increments, and then we can see down here populations in millions. Now you'll notice these two pyramids look very different. The one on the left, this is sub-Saharan Africa, so this is a region rather than a specific country, but we could look at it either way. And this pyramid is indicative of a third world country, a less developed country. And usually in these less developed countries, ones that have not experienced intense industrialization, we get a really wide base and then a thinner top. Now this means that the number of births far outweigh the number of individuals that are older in the population. And this is going to indicate that future growth of this population is going to increase. So our population is going to increase in size. On the right-hand side, we have what is more indicative of an industrialized nation. So this is Western Europe. Western Europe is relatively industrialized. The United States shows a similar type pattern with a thinner base a wider middle section. These are going to be what many of you would affectionately call the boomers. This is the baby boomer generation here. And then as you can see, as we get older, our population declines. This pyramid is going to indicate a slowing growth in the population because there are less individuals at the bottom, the younger ages, compared to the midsection or the top. So these pyramids are used for a variety of different things, usually to predict future trends in demographics and economics and social needs. Really, you would use these for planning purposes, government and country planning purposes, for budgets and things like that, just projected growth, projected use of resources. So humans have a huge impact on our planet. You can probably think of a handful of ways that humans are, air quotes, ruining our planet. You can probably also think of a handful of ways that we are attempting to right the sinking ship. But one of the measures of our effect on our planet is in something called an ecological footprint. So an ecological footprint is essentially the amount of land that is needed to support each individual person. So the average footprint size globally is about 2.75 hectares. Now, a hectare is probably not something that you are super familiar with, but it's a relatively small amount compared to the land that we have on our planet. But when you consider that the average for our individuals, and we have over 8 billion of them, is almost 3 hectares. That's a huge amount of land to support our human population. On the right-hand side on this graph, we've got some countries, some of our more impactful countries. We've got the average for the world right here in the blue. We've got what is considered the level of sustainability. So this is what is predicted to be the amount of footprint that each person can use and still be able to sustain life on Earth. You'll notice that there are many very large countries that are taking up a huge part of that ecological footprint. So Qatar is leading the pack with, say, maybe 14.5 hectares per person, the amount of resources that those individuals in that country are using. The United States is here not as bad as a couple others, but still one of the highest for ecological footprints. So we are having a huge impact on our planet using a huge amount of resources. And so for the rest of this chapter, we are going to talk about some of the ways that this ecological footprint is impacting our planet and the living organisms on it. At the very end of the lecture is going to be a set of summary slides that just basically list solutions. We don't have time to go into what all of the solutions are and how they work, but your textbook goes through and lists and describes the solutions for each of our impacts if you would like to go back and read any more on any of those topics.